This is a global event celebrating across all the CG centers and many other organizations worldwide. This is an opportunity to the academic and research community to learn more about the potential benefits of the open access. As a part of this, today we are observing the Open Access Week here at ICRISAT. On this occasion, I would like to welcome Dr. Venkatesan, who is the Director, LRC, IFC, and Dr. Veeranjaneyulu is the Chief Librarian, Acharya Endiranga, Agriculture University. Dr. Venkatesan and Dr. Veeranjaneyulu, we thankful to you for accepting our invitation and spending your valuable time with us. I also take this opportunity to welcome our beloved DDG Research, Dr. Gowda and other colleagues here at ICRISAT. Now I request Dr. Gowda to give his opening remarks.
Can I? Okay, good morning everyone, and let me at the outset welcome our guests, Dr. Venkatesan and Mr. Veeranjaneyulu, who have agreed to come to ICRISAT and give two invited talks today on open access during this week, which is being celebrated as the Open Access Week, that is the week of 21 to 27 October. This particular week gives us an opportunity for both academic as well as the research community across the world to assess and see what are the potential benefits of open access and share what we have not only with the colleagues within the institute but to the outside world as well. I would just like to mention here that ICRISAT among the CGIAR centers has been one of the pioneers in open access policy, and at least as far as I remember, for the past 4 to 5 years, our approach has been to see that all our publications are kept in open access. So our library has an open access repository where all the publications of ICRISAT scientists are kept for access to the global community. We are also moving, although I would say to me looks a little slower than what I would have liked in terms of sharing data, although there are some projects, some programs where we have been able to share data also on open access platform. But in other areas we have had some difficulty in terms of making platforms that can enable people to access our data. So all the data that we have generated in terms of the molecular markers and many of the genomics related data are already available on open access. The data on our village level studies, the VDSA knowledge bank is also already on open access. So we are moving ahead at quite reasonable speed. But again, as I said, not as fast as we should have moved, and not because we don't want to go for open access. We are all committed to it, but as I said, there are some other bottlenecks which are constraining us to get this into the open access mode. And just for those of you who may be wondering why we are talking of open access and what are the benefits, just let me say a few messages. Open access we refer to when publications and data are freely and permanently available online to anyone who has a connection to the internet. And of course, in the case of publications, even if there are people who don't have access, we are still making them available, putting them on a CD and sharing with many of our national program partners. So they still have that access even if they don't have connection to the internet. And there are many where people do see some of the publications in the table of contents of many of the journals, and when they write to us, we make them available to all of them. But open access in essence means that anyone with an internet connection should be able to see the publications freely and also the data access. This has got tremendous support in the last few years, both from the authors, but of course we have had difficulties with the publishers of some journals, because that was one of the way some of the publication houses were making money, but with open access that will not be there. So, but I think they are coming around and making things a little more easily available than ever before. So in essence, the open access is coming to full steam now in many of the publication houses which were not willing to consider open access at least 2 years ago, but now they are a little more open than when they were a few years ago. So as mentioned earlier, this open access week provides us an opportunity to connect to the global community towards enhancing this open sharing with the advancement of the policy changes both at the local level as well as at the global level. The major beneficiaries would be the universities, colleges, research institutions, many of the funding agencies, and of course the libraries, which are repositories of the publications and other books that are of importance. And this is a good opportunity for ICRISAT, which has already been implementing the open access policy and also hosting the institutional repositories that I mentioned earlier as the OAR, the Open Access Repository, where we hold the ICRISAT research outputs, including the publications which are available globally. There is another database called Dataverse, which is a repository for archiving historicals. I did mention some of them, but again, as I said, we are on the road for getting other data also accessible globally. So in conclusion, we as the research community, by encouraging this open access, can break the barriers or the walls that have been there previously for exchange of information, so that we can gain access to many of the knowledge and research information that can enhance our capacity to do better research in the future. So let me take this opportunity to thank all of you for participating in this, and if all of you can take this message home that open access is the way forward, I think we have done our bit of duty to this Open Access Week. Thank you and good day.
Used to inform you that we have set up a open access booth at the entrance of the ground floor 212 building. I request you all to contribute to the repositories. The booth is available for next 2 days, and one dedicated person and resource will be available to help you to upload all your data, documents, images, whatever the multimedia kind of information and all. So I request our DDC Research, Dr. Gowda, to inaugurate and
Can we do one thing, a little change? See, once we get out, it will take possibly another 15 minutes for getting back, and you may lose some of the audience. So why not, if you agree, we can go ahead with these two presentations and then do the inauguration.
Okay. Before that, Mr. Siva would like to say something about the institutional repositories.
Sure.
Just for two minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
A very good morning to all scientists, research scholars, core staff, and students. It gives me an immense pleasure to celebrate this Open Access Week in our institute. And also I thank Dr. Gowda sir, Dr. Venkatesan, and Dr. Veeranjanelu for accepting our invitation in a very short span. Coming to the open access, open access is where you can find literature online and free of charge. And of course, it also led to few copyright regulations too. There are two vehicles for this open access. One is like open access journals, and the other one is open access institutional repositories. The first one, open access journals. These open access journals are scholarly journals that are available online to the reader without financial, legal, or technical barriers, other than those inseparable from gaining access to internet itself. So most of you know about open access journals and their impact on open access. Coming to the second part, open access institutional repositories. Here I want to let you know what this policy has come up with ICRISAT and how it encouraged to build the open access institutional repository in ICRISAT. Since 4 to 5 years, so that from 2009, we started this open access repository using DSpace, and then after we have taken another open source software called ePrints, where we managed to put on nearly 7,000 plus documents in this repository, which includes manuscripts, articles, conference papers, book chapters, and monographs. Among those, nearly 6,400 journal articles have been published by our research scientists, which are accessible open. I mean, like, we kept those as open access. And all those have, I mean, like 70% of those publications have been peer reviewed and published in peer reviewed journals. And since 2009 to till date, this open access repository has become a source of information for researchers, academicians, and of course students. And in this regard, I would like to say that this open access repository which ICRISAT has posted, and it's in a good run. Till date, it has 350,000 downloads during May and till date. And on an average, daily we'll be getting, library will be getting 6 to 7 requests for articles which are closed and which are available in our repository. So till date we have 3,000 requests from our OER for requesting these articles. I would like to say that this OER has great impact on the research for the scientists, academicians, and students who are looking for information. And our OER has been harvested by different search engines like Google, Google Scholar, and Forum. And with this, I would like to conclude that open access can be encouraged by educating research community and administrators about the scholarly communication crisis and showing how open access is part of any comprehensive solution. And I thank you one and all for giving me this opportunity to share my views and about open access in ICRISAT. Thank you.